Welcome to Monk's Temple. Find a comfortable position, wherever you are. Perhaps you're sitting, or lying down. Let your eyes grow soft, or close them gently. Let the weight of your body be fully supported. And for these next moments, let the world outside soften into a quiet murmur. We're not here to add more to your mind, but to explore a gentle unclenching. A subtle, profound release that the heart has always known, but the world often teaches us to forget. Tonight, we explore a single, beautiful, and deeply misunderstood word from the heart of Buddhism. A phrase so simple it echoes through centuries: let go. How often have you heard it? Just let it go. We say it to a friend holding a grudge, to ourselves when clinging to a memory that pains us. And in the profound teachings of the Buddha, we hear, let go of attachment. And the mind, our logical, grasping mind, immediately translates. It creates a list. Let go of my car, my home, the people I love, my dreams. And a quiet rebellion rises. If I let go of everything, the mind whispers, will there be anything left of me? Will life become a gray, passionless horizon? So we push the teaching away. We file it under impractical or too extreme. We give it a false complaint, as the old texts say. We believe Buddhism asks us to let go of the world itself. But what if we have misunderstood the map for the territory? The Buddha, in his infinite compassion, never asked us to let go of the warmth of the sun on our skin. He never asked us to let go of the symphony of rain, or the embrace of a loved one. He asked us to let go of something far more subtle, and in doing so, to truly receive the world for the first time. What we are invited to release is not the thing, but the shadow we cast upon it. The shadow of clinging. The shadow of mine. The shadow of forever. For the next while, in this space of Monk's Temple, let's journey together into the real meaning of non-attachment. Not as a loss, but as the ultimate gain. Not as poverty, but as the deepest intimacy with life, exactly as it flows. If this exploration of timeless wisdom resonates with you, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. It's a simple way to gently remind your future self to return to this space of calm and clarity. Your presence here is a blessing. Let me share with you a story. Not from an ancient text, but from a memory that feels like one. I once knew a man who was a librarian in a vast, old library. His life was the whisper of pages, the scent of aging paper. He was the guardian of a single, incredibly rare manuscript. It was his purpose, his pride. He handled it only with white gloves, in a climate-controlled room. He knew every faint ink stroke, every fiber of its parchment. To him, it was not just a book. It was his masterpiece, his charge, the central artifact of his identity. One day, a young scholar, her eyes bright with genuine, innocent curiosity, requested to see it. It was for a noble purpose, a research that could shed new light on history. The librarian's entire being tightened. A silent "no" echoed in his chest. What if her breath damages it? What if her finger, even gloved, traces a word too forcefully? What if she sees it, but does not understand its true value as I do? He created gentle barriers. The room is being serviced, he would say. Or, the manuscript is too fragile this week. He built a fortress of good intentions around it. The scholar, disappointed but polite, eventually stopped asking. Years passed. The librarian retired. On his last day, he went to the manuscript one final time. It was perfect, preserved, untouched. And as he sat there, a profound emptiness washed over him. He had protected it from use. He had shielded it from new eyes, from new interpretations. He had saved it from the world so completely that it had never truly lived in the world during his care. Its beauty had not been in its perfection, but in its power to illuminate minds, a power he had carefully extinguished. He realized he had not been a guardian of a book, but a jailer of an idea. His desire to possess its perfection, to keep it permanently as his treasure, had ultimately been its burial. This, perhaps, is our first clue. Attachment isn't love. Attachment is the fear of loss masquerading as love. It is the white-knuckled grip that believes it is a caress. The Buddha's wisdom guides us to see this difference. In the Dhammapada, he doesn't speak of destroying the beautiful. He says, the perfume of flowers does not travel against the wind, but the fragrance of the virtuous person travels even against the wind. The beauty is not in the hoarding, but in the nature of the thing itself, allowed to be what it is, to do what it does. The librarian's virtue would have been in allowing the manuscript to fulfill its purpose, to be read, to enlighten. His attachment was the wind against which its true fragrance could not travel. We think letting go means losing the object. But sometimes, letting go is what allows the object to finally be what it truly is. And in that permission, our relationship with it is transformed from one of anxiety to one of awe. So we begin to see. The instruction is more precise, more surgical, than we imagined. Our human experience is inherently sensate. We are creatures of touch, sight, sound, taste. The Buddha called this the world of the six senses. It is our field of experience. To imagine we must let go of the field itself is like a fish believing it must let go of water to be free. It's impossible, and more importantly, it misses the point entirely. Let's explore this with a metaphor of our own creation. Imagine your mind is a vast, clear mountain lake. The water is still, deep, and receptive. Now, into this lake fall many things, leaves from the trees, let's call them pleasant experiences, a delicious meal, a compliment, and stones, unpleasant experiences, a harsh word, a disappointment. There are also twigs, petals, the reflection of clouds, neutral, passing things. Now, what is the nature of water? It receives all these things. The leaf lands, and for a moment, it floats on the surface. The water holds it, allows it to be. The stone falls, and with a soft plop, it sinks. The water accepts it, envelopes it, and over time, silt may gently cover it. The water does not cling to the leaf, screaming, "Mine. Stay forever." Nor does it reject the stone, trying to violently eject it from its depths. It receives, it ripples in response, and then it returns, gradually, to its essential nature of stillness and clarity. The leaf may drift to shore, decay, and become soil. The stone may remain, a part of the lakebed's landscape. We are that water. Our true nature is awareness, clarity, receptivity. Attachment is not the leaf or the stone being in the water. That is simply life happening. Attachment is when the water freezes solid around the leaf. It says, "This leaf is me." This leaf must always be here, exactly as it is, defining my surface. The frozen water is no longer fluid, no longer responsive. It cannot receive the next petal, or the sunlight. It is rigid, brittle. And when spring comes and the leaf inevitably rots or blows away, the ice shatters in protest. The Buddha's teaching is the warmth of wisdom that melts the ice. It doesn't remove the lake, or the leaves, or the stones. It restores the water to its fluid, alive, responsive nature. Letting go of attachment is the melting of the freeze. It is the return to flow. The Buddha made this distinction with luminous clarity. He said, and I am paraphrasing the ancient texts in my own words, the beautiful things of the world, the sight of a sunset, the sound of music, the comfort of a home, they are just what they are. They are not the problem. They remain as they are in the world. The wise person does not blame the sunset for being beautiful. They do not destroy the music. Instead, they do something within themselves. They remove the possessive desire for these things. They let the sunset be a sunset, without demanding it last longer or trying to capture it and claim it as a personal achievement. They let the music be a vibration in the air, experienced fully, then allowed to fade, without a mental hook trying to replay it endlessly in a loop of craving. The object is innocent. The clinging is the optional add-on. The suffering comes when we confuse the two. Let's deepen this with another tale, from a different corner of imagination. There was a potter, renowned for her skill. Her hands could coax forms from clay that seemed to hold stillness itself. For years, she sought to create the perfect vase. Not just functionally perfect, but spiritually perfect, a form that would embody serenity, a glaze that held the color of a twilight sky. After 1,000 attempts, she achieved it. The vase was breathtaking. It stood in her workshop, and even the dust in the air seemed to settle around it in reverence. She was filled with joy, and then, almost instantly, with terror. Now that she had it, she could lose it. A clumsy movement, an earthquake, a thief, the possibilities for loss were infinite. So she built a special pedestal. She placed it in the center of her home. She stopped creating new pots. Her entire life began to orbit this single object. She would clean the room around it meticulously. She would sit and stare at it for hours, not in joy, but in anxious vigilance. Are you still perfect? Are you still mine? One day, a close friend, a fellow artist, visited. She saw the vase, saw the potter's pale, worried face. The friend walked around the vase once, slowly. Then she said softly, "It is beautiful. But I miss the pots you used to make. The ones that held water for thirsty travelers, the ones that held flowers for sick neighbors. They had a different beauty. The beauty of use." The potter was stunned. She looked at her perfect vase. It held nothing. It served no purpose but to be looked at, and to be worried over. Its perfection had become a prison, for it, and for her. In her desire to possess and preserve its perfect form forever, she had robbed it of its very essence as a vessel. And she had imprisoned her own creative, generous spirit. That night, she lay awake. A radical thought arose. She went to the pedestal, took the vase in her hands. Her hands trembling not with fear now, but with a new kind of reverence. She carried it outside, to her garden. She placed it on a simple stone table, under the open sky. "You are of the earth," she whispered to it. "You belong to the rain, to the wind, to the falling leaves. You may crack in the frost. A bird may nest in you. You will change." And she went back to her wheel. The next day, she began to make pots again. Simple, strong, useful pots. And every time she placed a new pot in the kiln, she would glance through the window at the vase in the garden. Sometimes, with the morning dew on it, it looked more beautiful than ever. It was no longer a possession. It had become a companion in impermanence. The Buddha's path is not about not having the vase. It is about having the courage to place it in the garden. To let the world touch it. To relate to it not as a possession whose loss we dread, but as a transient guest of astonishing beauty, whose very fleeting nature is part of its gift to us. The potter's initial desire was to stop time for the vase. Her awakening was to join it in the flow of time. To understand this further, we must look directly at desire. The Pali word is tanha, often translated as thirst or craving. This is the engine of attachment. Let's invent another metaphor. Imagine you are walking through a desert. The sun is relentless. Your lips are parched. You have been without water for a long time. In the distance, you see a shimmering vision, a mirage of a sparkling, clear lake. Your whole body convulses with craving. Water. There. I must have it. My survival depends on it. This is tanha. It is a desperate, burning thirst that projects its solution onto an illusion. You run towards it, only to find more sand. Now, imagine a different scenario. You are walking by a real, clear, cool stream in a forest. You are not desperately thirsty, you are simply a person on a walk. You kneel down, cup your hands, drink deeply. The water is refreshing, delightful. You thank the stream, and you continue on your way. This is simple, wholesome need. You used the water. You enjoyed it. You didn't try to bottle the entire stream and carry it on your back, fearing you'd never find water again. The Buddha's teaching on letting go is about discerning the mirage thirst from the forest stream. It's about letting go of the desperate, clinging, possessive craving that distorts reality and causes us to suffer. It is not about refusing to drink from the stream when we are healthily thirsty. Our desire becomes attachment when it carries a hidden command: you must stay like this forever, and you must be mine. We see this in relationships. Be my source of happiness forever, and never change. We see it with status: this job title must define me permanently. We see it with experiences: this vacation was perfect, my life should always feel like this. The desire itself becomes a clenched fist. And a clenched fist cannot receive a new gift, nor can it gently let sand sift through its fingers. It can only grip and ache. Consider the story of a concert violinist. He spent his life mastering the most complex, passionate concertos. His dream was to perform a particular piece that ended on a long, soaring, triumphant high note. The applause, he imagined, would be thunderous. The night of his great performance arrived. He played flawlessly, with great emotion. He approached the final passage, the build-up to that glorious high note. As he drew his bow for the final, powerful stroke, the string snapped. The note died in a discordant twang. Silence fell over the concert hall. Not a dramatic silence, but a shocked, awkward, terrible silence. The musician stood frozen, humiliated, heartbroken. His perfect ending was ruined. The thing he had desired, clung to, practiced for, gone. He left the stage in disgrace, or so he felt. For years, he could not touch his violin. The memory was a poison. He believed he had lost everything. Decades later, an old man now, he was asked by a young student about that infamous night. With a sigh, he began to describe the failure. But as he spoke, something shifted. He found himself describing not just the broken string, but the quality of the silence that followed. It was, he said slowly, the most complete silence I have ever heard. It wasn't empty. It was full. It was as if the music had not ended, but had emptied itself into that silence. And the audience, they weren't judging. They were waiting. They were with me, in that broken moment. For the first time, he saw it not as a loss of his desired note, but as the unexpected arrival of something else entirely, a profound, shared human moment of vulnerability and stillness. He had been so attached to the idea of the perfect ending, the high note, the applause, that he had been completely blinded to the raw, beautiful reality that actually occurred. His desire for the planned perfection had caused him decades of suffering, obscuring a moment of rare truth. The Buddha teaches that suffering arises when we cling to our version of how things should be, blinding ourselves to how things are. The musician's letting go happened decades later, when he finally released his clinging to the lost note and could truly perceive the gift of the silence he had been given instead. The beauty was there all along, waiting for his grasp on his desire to relax. This brings us to the heart of the matter, the expectation of permanence. This is the core delusion that attachment feeds on. The Buddha taught the characteristic of anicca, impermanence. Not as a pessimistic philosophy, but as the most fundamental law of our lived experience. Everything that arises, passes away. Every cell in your body, every feeling in your heart, every mountain on earth, every star in the sky, all are in a process of constant, seamless change. We are not static beings having experiences. We are a flow of experiences, momentarily coalescing into the pattern we call me. Our suffering is like trying to build a permanent home in the middle of a river. We build our walls of identity, our furniture of possessions, our roof of beliefs. And then we are shocked and angry when the water rises, when the current shifts, when the walls dissolve. We curse the river. But the river is just being a river. The problem was never the river. The problem was the impossible, heartbreaking project of building something permanent within it. Letting go of attachment is, in essence, learning to swim. Or better yet, learning that you are not separate from the water. It's laying down the bricks, stepping out of the crumbling house, and feeling the cool, supporting flow of the river itself. It is realizing that security was never in the solidity of the house, but in the skillful navigation of the flow. When we stop demanding that a pleasant feeling stay forever, we can feel it fully, completely, without the undercurrent of dread about its leaving. When we stop resisting an unpleasant feeling, believing it will define us forever, we can feel its texture, watch it move, and learn its message as it passes through. We exchange the fight against the current for the art of floating, of steering, of being with. I recall a woman who loved her summer garden. It was a riot of color. Roses, dahlias, sunflowers. She would spend hours there, and her happiness was tied to its peak bloom. But as summer waned, she grew sad, then resentful. She'd try to prop up fading flowers, curse the falling leaves. Autumn was her enemy, a thief stealing her joy. One year, a wise neighbor saw her struggle. He didn't offer consolation. Instead, he invited her to his own garden in late October. It was not colorful in the summer sense, but it had a different palette. The deep burgundy of oak leaves, the skeletal elegance of bare climbing vines, the stark red berries of a hawthorn, the architectural shapes of seed heads covered in morning frost. The light was slanted, golden, ethereal. The air smelled of damp earth and decay, a rich, potent smell. "My favorite season," the neighbor said quietly. The woman was silent. She had never looked at fall. She had only seen it as the absence of summer. Her attachment to the specific beauty of July had rendered her blind to the profound beauty of October. She had been trying to force permanence on a rose, and in doing so, had declared the entire, majestic cycle of death and decay as ugly. She went home. The next morning, she went to her own garden not as its summer curator, but as a visitor. She saw the intricate spiderweb beaded with dew on the brown coneflower. She heard the rustle of leaves, a dry, comforting sound. She felt the cool, crisp air on her face. For the first time, she didn't just tolerate fall, she saw it. And in seeing it, her world doubled in size. Her joy was no longer contingent on a single, fleeting stage of the cycle. It became a quieter, deeper appreciation for the cycle itself. She let go of her attachment to summer-only beauty. She didn't destroy her summer garden. She planted spring bulbs that autumn, with a new hope. Her love became inclusive, not exclusive. This is the wise removal of desire the Buddha speaks of. You don't kill the love for the rose, you remove the demand that only roses are beautiful. Your capacity for joy expands to fill the whole world, in all its seasons. This teaching becomes real when it touches our own lives. I will share a small story from my own path. Years ago, I kept a journal. It wasn't just a diary, it was a 5-year record of insights, quotes, personal breakthroughs, and raw, emotional processing. It was, in my mind, the map of my spiritual journey. I carried it everywhere. On a train journey, I left my bag unattended for a few minutes. When I returned, the bag was there, but the journal was gone. Panic. Dread. A feeling of visceral loss, as if a part of my own mind had been ripped out. All those insights, lost. My proof of growth, gone. I was devastated. For days, I replayed the loss, imagining the journal in a landfill, or worse, being read by a stranger. My attachment to it was total. It was my wisdom, my story. Weeks passed in a gray fog. Then, one morning, I was trying to comfort a friend going through a hard time. Without thinking, I began to speak. And out came not a rehearsed quote from the journal, but a fresh, immediate, compassionate insight. Direct, heartfelt, and perfectly suited for her in that moment. It flowed easily. Later that day, wrestling with a problem, a solution arose, not from remembering an old entry, but from a clear, present moment intuition. A slow realization dawned, the wisdom wasn't in the book. The book was just the fossil record. The wisdom was, and had always been, in the mind that wrote it, the awareness that had those insights in the first place. By clinging to the physical artifact, I had been subtly believing that my understanding was finite, locked in those pages. Losing the journal forced me to live from the source, not the recording. I had to let go of the artifact to discover that the capacity to create it was still very much alive within me. The Buddha's teaching wasn't about not valuing the journal. It was about not confusing myself with the journal. The loss, which felt like an amputation, became an invitation to a deeper trust in my own living, present awareness. The map was gone, but I was forced to become the territory. In a forgotten city, there was a magnificent gate, intricately carved from sandstone. It had once been the entrance to a great palace, but the palace had long since crumbled to dust. Only the gate remained, standing alone in a field. A man appointed himself its gatekeeper. He took his duty with immense seriousness. He would polish the carvings daily. He would shout at children who came too close. "This is a historical treasure. Do not touch." He would argue with historians about its exact age, defending his personal interpretation fiercely. His identity was entirely wrapped up in being the guardian of the gate. One day, a simple traveler, a wanderer with kind eyes, approached. He sat nearby, watching the gatekeeper fuss and fume. After a long while, the traveler spoke. "It is a beautiful gate." "Of course it is," snapped the gatekeeper. "And I am its keeper." "What does it guard?" asked the traveler softly. The gatekeeper blinked. It is a gate. It's important. It leads to, well, it used to lead to the palace. So now, the traveler said, gesturing to the open space beyond the arch, it leads to the field. And the sky. The gatekeeper was silent, confused. The traveler continued. "You are so busy guarding the gateness of it, protecting its idea, that you never just walk through it. You never feel the change from shadow to sunlight on the other side. You are protecting a function that no longer exists, and missing the beauty that does exist, a frame for the world." The gatekeeper, for the first time, looked through the gate, not just at it. He saw the wildflowers in the field, the clouds drifting past the archway. He had been attached to its past purpose, its status, his role in relation to it. He had frozen it, and himself, in time. That night, he didn't polish it. He simply sat in its archway, watching the stars appear through the carved stone. He was no longer just its keeper. He had become part of the view it framed. His attachment to his role had ended, and a simple, peaceful coexistence had begun. How often do we guard empty gates in our own lives? Identities from past jobs, faded relationships, old achievements. We polish the title, defend the memory, and miss the fact that the palace is gone, and a vast, open field is waiting for us to simply walk through. Letting go is walking through the arch. This all sounds beautiful in stories, you might think. But how do we do it? When anger is boiling, when fear is gripping, when loss is acute, how do we let go, then? It feels like asking a drowning man to relax. The first, most gentle step is to understand that letting go is not an act of violence against yourself. It is not, "I should let go, so I will suppress this feeling." That is just another form of clinging to an ideal of how you should feel. True letting go is a shift in relationship. It is a movement from being fused with an experience to being aware of an experience. It's the difference between being the storm cloud and being the sky that holds the storm cloud. Here is a simple, foundational practice, offered in the spirit of Monk's Temple. You can do this right now, with anything. 1. Recognize. When you notice a strong feeling, worry about the future, regret about the past, desire for something, simply pause. Mentally whisper, "Ah, here is clinging." Or, "Here is fear." Or, "Here is wanting." Just name it. You are the sky noting a cloud formation. This is the moment of mindfulness, sati. 2. Allow. This is the crucial, counterintuitive step. Instead of pushing the feeling away, which is resistance, a form of clinging, or diving into its story, which is fusion, simply allow it to be there. Say to it, internally, "It's okay. You can be here." This is not agreeing with the thought or approving of the feeling. It is simply ceasing the civil war within your own mind. You are the sky allowing the storm cloud to drift through. This is the essence of letting go. You stop grabbing the cloud, and you stop trying to shove it away. You just make space for it. 3. Investigate with kindness. Once you've allowed it space, you can look at it with gentle curiosity. Where do I feel this in my body? A tightness in the chest? A clenching in the stomach? What is its texture? Heavy? Hot? Jagged? Just feel the physical sensations, without the story. And ask, softly, what does this feeling believe it needs to be okay? Often, the answer is permanence, control, security. You see the desire, tanha, within it. 4. See its nature. Remember anicca. This feeling, like all phenomena, is not solid, permanent, or you. It is a passing constellation of energy in the mind and body. Watch it. Does it stay exactly the same? Or does it pulse, shift, change intensity, move location? Seeing its impermanent nature loosens its claim on you. You see it as a process, not a prison. 5. Relax the grasp. As you see it changing, you can gently, intentionally, soften around it. Imagine the clenched fist in your belly or heart slowly opening. Release the mental storyline. Breathe into the physical sensation. You are not trying to make it disappear. You are just ceasing to add fuel to it. You are letting it be, and therefore, letting it go on its way, in its own time. This is not a one-time fix. It is a rehearsal, a retraining of the heart-mind. You do it 1,000 times with small irritations, so that when the great waves of loss or fear come, you have built the neural pathway of the sky, not the storm. In a village known for its tapestries, there was a weaver unlike any other. She wanted to weave a tapestry that depicted pure, undiluted joy. Only bright gold, sunny yellow, vibrant green threads. She rejected any dark or somber color. "My tapestry will be happiness itself," she declared. But as she wove, something felt wrong. The gold looked garish without depth. The green seemed flat. The tapestry was bright, but it had no life, no resonance. It felt like a shout that never paused. Frustrated, she visited the oldest weaver in the region, a woman whose eyes were soft like twilight. The old weaver's hut was full of her work. And there, the young weaver saw it, breathtaking scenes of forests, mountains, faces. And in them, she saw dark threads, deep blues, rich browns, touches of black and gray. They weren't mistakes, they were what gave the light its meaning. The shadow under a leaf made the leaf seem real. The dark depth of an eye held wisdom. The brown of a tree trunk gave it strength. "You are trying to weave only the day," the old woman said. But a day has dawn, noon, dusk, and night. A life has joy, sorrow, peace, and passion. To reject the dark thread is to reject the very thing that gives your light its shape and its value. The attachment to only one color is what is making your work lifeless. The young weaver returned home. She took her bright tapestry off the loom. She began again. This time, she wove with her whole heart. She wove the dark blue of a lonely night, right next to the gold of a reunion. She wove the gray of grief, which made the green of new growth behind it seem like a miracle. She wasn't attached to joy anymore. She was in relationship with the whole spectrum of experience. And for the first time, her tapestry felt alive. It breathed. It told a truth. Our attachment to wanting only pleasant feelings is like the weaver using only gold. It creates a flat, unreal, and ultimately dissatisfying life. Letting go is having the courage to include the dark threads, not because we desire them, but because we understand they are part of the whole, beautiful, complex picture. We let go of our demand for a monochrome life and learn to weave with all the threads we are given. Now we come to the great irony, the beautiful secret: letting go of attachment is the prerequisite for true, fearless enjoyment. When you hold a bird too tightly, you crush it. When you hold it with an open hand, it may choose to sit there a while, and you can feel the delicate weight of its life, the trust in its stillness. And if it flies away, your open hand is ready to receive the next wonder. Without the hidden agenda of possession and permanence, your experience becomes pure, direct, and intimate. You taste the food fully, because you're not already worrying about the meal ending. You listen to your loved one completely, because you're not strategizing how to keep them forever. You appreciate your health today, without the shadow dread of future illness. You enjoy success without the anxiety of future failure. The Buddha's path is often called the middle way. This is the middle way in action, not indulgence, clinging to pleasure, not asceticism, clinging to rejection of pleasure, but a wise, balanced engagement. You partake, but you don't stockpile. You love, but you don't chain. You have, but you don't hoard. Your happiness is no longer held hostage by conditions. It becomes a quality of your own heart, a gentle gladness in being aware, in being present to the ever-changing dance of phenomena. You are not trying to nail butterflies to a board to study them, you are sitting in the meadow, delighted by their fluttering, temporary visits. A great tea master had a favorite cup. It was simple, but to him, its balance was perfect, the glaze held the color of a still pond. It was the centerpiece of his tea ceremony. One day, a nervous apprentice, while cleaning, fumbled and the cup fell to the stone floor. It shattered into a dozen pieces. The apprentice trembled, expecting fury. The tea master went still. He looked at the fragments. He knelt down. For a long time, he was silent. The apprentice wept quietly, sure his career was over. Then, the master began to gather the pieces carefully. He did not throw them away. He took them to his workbench. Over the following months, using a delicate art called kintsugi, he repaired the cup. He used a lacquer dusted with fine gold powder to join the pieces. When he was done, the cup was whole again, but now veined with elegant, gleaming golden lines tracing every crack. At the next ceremony, he used this cup. The apprentice, invited to attend, saw it and gasped. It was more beautiful than before. The master served him tea. As he held the warm, repaired cup, the master said, "Before, its beauty was in its perfection, which was always fragile, always haunted by the possibility of this moment. Now, its beauty is in its history, in its imperfection, in its graceful acceptance of breakage and repair." The gold reminds us that damage and healing are part of its story, not the end of it. I loved the old cup. But I understand this one. His attachment to the cup's perfect form was broken the day it shattered. But from that letting go arose a deeper, more resilient appreciation, a love that included breakage and did not see it as ruin, but as a new chapter in the cup's existence. He had let go of the desire for it to be unbroken, and in doing so, he participated in creating a new, profound kind of wholeness. This is the ultimate freedom. When we let go of our attachment to things being a certain way, perfect, permanent, ours, we become artists of kintsugi with our own lives. We learn to mend our breaks with the gold of wisdom and compassion, and our scars become part of our beauty, not flaws to be hidden. Perhaps the most tender area for this teaching is in our relationships. We fear that non-attachment means non-love. That to let go is to become cold, distant, uncaring. Nothing could be further from the truth. Attachment in relationships is the secret anxiety that says, "I need you to be my anchor, my source of happiness, and you must never change." It's a weight we place on another human being, a burden of expectation they can never fulfill, because they, too, are a river, constantly changing. Non-attachment in love is the purest form of love. It says, "I see you. I cherish you. I am here with you, in this moment. I do not own you. I do not demand you stay the same for me. I am committed to witnessing your journey, even as it changes you. And I honor my own." It is the love of the gardener for the plant, not the collector for the fossil. The gardener delights in the sprout, the leaf, the bud, the flower, and even the withering, because it's all part of the life of the beloved plant. The collector wants the plant forever frozen at the flowering stage under glass, which is, of course, death. When you let go of the attachment to a person behaving a certain way, or fulfilling a certain role for you eternally, you create space for them to truly be themselves. And in that space, real intimacy grows. Love becomes an act of liberation, not possession. You are two rivers flowing together for a time, sharing the same landscape, enriching each other, without needing to dam the other to stop their flow. This doesn't make loss painless. But it changes the quality of the pain. It is the clean pain of grief for a beloved presence that has moved on, not the tangled, bitter pain of a broken contract or a failed possession. One is a human heart breaking open. The other is the shattering of an idol. Two travelers came to a vast, deep canyon. The only way across was a narrow, ancient rope bridge. It swayed in the wind. The first traveler was terrified. He got down on his hands and knees. He clutched the wooden slats with a white-knuckled grip. He inched forward, trembling, eyes squeezed shut, muttering, "Don't break, don't break, don't break." His entire world was the few inches of wood under his hands. The magnificent view of the canyon, the eagles soaring below, the spectacular sunset painting the cliffs, all of it was lost to him. He was consumed by his fear of losing the bridge. His crossing was an agony. The second traveler approached. She took a deep breath. She stood upright. She held the guide ropes lightly, for balance, not for life support. She felt the sway of the bridge, accepted it as part of the crossing. She walked steadily, her eyes open. She saw the dizzying depth, felt the thrill of it. She saw the colors of the sunset reflecting off a river far below. Her heart was pounding, but with a mix of awe and aliveness, not just terror. She was crossing the bridge. Her experience was of the canyon, the sky, the journey. Halfway across, a strong gust of wind shook the bridge violently. The first traveler screamed, froze completely, certain he would die. The second traveler bent her knees, rode the sway like a sailor on a ship, waited for it to settle, and continued. Both got to the other side. The first traveler collapsed, drained, traumatized, having experienced only terror. The second stood, breathless, vibrant, having experienced a great adventure. The bridge is our life. The canyon is impermanence. Our relationships, our health, our moments, they are all that bridge. Attachment is the white-knuckled, terrified grip, the demand for absolute stability, the blindness to everything except our fear of the fall. Letting go is standing up, holding things lightly, and walking with awareness and courage. It is the difference between suffering the crossing and living the journey. We have spoken of letting go of objects, feelings, expectations. But the deepest layer, the root of all other clingings, is the attachment to a fixed, solid, permanent self. We believe in the noun me, when the actual experience is a verb, me-ng, a flowing process. We cling to our self-image, I am smart, I am kind, I am a victim, I am a success. We defend this construct fiercely. Any experience that threatens it, criticism, failure, change, causes immense suffering because it feels like an attack on our very existence. The Buddha's radical insight of anatta, or not-self, is the ultimate letting go. It is not a nihilistic denial of your existence. It is an invitation to investigate, where is this solid me? Is it in the body, which changes daily? Is it in the thoughts, which come and go? Is it in the feelings, which are fleeting? Is it in memories, which are unreliable reconstructions? What you find upon investigation is a constellation of ever-changing processes. A body, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. A river of experience, with no permanent captain standing apart from the river. The self is the story the mind tells about the river to create a sense of continuity and control. Letting go of attachment to self is the supreme relaxation. It is dropping the exhausting project of constantly maintaining and defending a fiction. It is the freedom to be what you are in this moment without reference to a fixed story from the past. You can be angry without thinking, I am an angry person. You can fail without believing, I am a failure. You are simply experiencing anger, experiencing failure, as temporary weather in the vast sky of awareness. This is not a loss of identity, but a liberation from a cramped, small, fragile identity into a boundless, fluid, and responsive being. You are no longer a statue in a museum, but the wind itself. A famous actor was renowned for one role, a tragic king. He had played it for 30 years. It defined him. Off stage, he spoke in a measured, regal tone. He carried himself with melancholy grandeur. He was the king. One night, during the final soliloquy, his mind went blank. The lines that had been his identity for decades vanished. Silence stretched. The audience grew still. Panic surged in him. I am the king. The king knows his lines. I am nothing without these words. But in that void of silence, something else happened. Stripped of the rehearsed words, the practiced gestures, he stood on stage, simply a man in a costume, in a pool of light, feeling utterly lost and exposed. And the audience saw not a king, but a human being in raw, vulnerable truth. A single tear rolled down his cheek, not a staged tear, but a real one. And in that moment, he was more compelling, more profoundly royal, in his humanity, than he had ever been while perfectly reciting the lines. The audience didn't breathe. They were witnessing something real. The curtain fell. Backstage, he was shattered. He believed his career, his self, was over. But the reviews the next day were astonishing. They hailed it as a revolutionary performance, a moment of transcendent truth. They said he had become the role in a way he never had before. It took him months to understand. He had been attached to the performance of being the king, the lines, the blocking, the reputation. When that was ripped away, all that was left was the fundamental human truth the play was about: loss, mortality, vulnerability. And he had embodied that perfectly, not by acting, but by being. He had to let go of the actor playing the king, to briefly become the human being experiencing the king's truth. We are all like that actor, attached to our roles. Parent, professional, survivor, helper. Letting go is not abandoning the role. It is being willing to stand in the silence when the script fails, and discover what is true beneath the performance. Our essential humanity is always there, far more beautiful and real than any part we play. This is not a finish line to cross. It is a quality of movement to cultivate for a lifetime. You will grasp 1,000 times. You will freeze around a leaf in the lake. You will try to build a house in the river. This is the human condition. The practice is in the gentle, compassionate noticing. Ah, I am grasping again. And then the soft release. The uncurling of the fingers of the heart. Each time you do this, you wear a new groove in the mind, a groove of freedom. You are not failing when you cling, you are being given another opportunity to practice letting go. Make it a daily, even momentary, practice. When you finish a delicious meal and feel a pang of, I wish there were more, notice it, and let the gratitude for what was be enough. When a pleasant moment ends, instead of immediately reaching for the next one, pause in the space between. When a difficult emotion arises, practice being the sky for just 3 breaths. This is the path. Not a dramatic renunciation, but a subtle, continuous inner movement of release. It is the path of the Buddha. It is the path of awakening to things as they are, not as we demand them to be. A child loved his kite. It was a magnificent dragon, red and gold. On a perfect windy day, he would run, and the kite would soar, higher and higher, a tiny, beautiful speck dancing with the clouds. He loved the feeling of the string in his hands, the tug of the wind, the sight of his kite flying. One day, an old man watched him. After a while, he said, "It flies beautifully. But do you know the secret of ultimate flight?" The boy, proud of his control, said, Yes. You hold the string tight and run to give it lift. The old man smiled. That is how you launch it. But watch. He took the string from the boy's hand. He didn't hold it tight. He began to feed it out, longer and longer, giving the kite more and more slack. The kite, feeling the release of tension, bobbed for a moment, then caught a new current and soared even higher, into a realm the boy had never seen it reach. If you hold too tight, the old man said, you keep it low, in the turbulent winds near the ground. You think you are in control, but you are limiting its sky. To let it reach its greatest height, you must give it line. You must trust the wind, and the kite's own nature to fly. But what if I lose it? The boy asked, worried. Then it will have had a magnificent flight to its end, the old man said. But see, you are not losing it. You are relating to it differently. You are allowing it its freedom. And in that freedom, you get to witness its most glorious dance. The boy took the string back. He tried it. He let out line, his heart in his throat. The kite soared, became a tiny, joyful speck of gold in the vast blue. He wasn't controlling it anymore, he was in a dialogue with the wind and the kite. The joy was no longer in possession, but in witness. It was a different, fuller happiness. We are the kite flyer. Our experiences, our relationships, our lives are the kite. Attachment is holding the string in a death grip, keeping everything safe, low, and under control. Letting go is having the courage and wisdom to give line, to allow for more sky, more freedom, more unknown currents. The relationship becomes more joyful, more alive, more truly shared with the universe itself. And if the string one day slips from your fingers, you can watch it soar away with a heart full of gratitude for the dance you were privileged to see, not with the devastation of a lost possession. Let us end our time together with a short, guided integration. Let this settle into the heart, not just the intellect. Find that comfortable position once more. Let your breathing be natural. Soften the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders. Allow your awareness to settle into the body, just as it is in this moment. Now, bring to mind something small you appreciate. The feel of the air on your skin. The sound of silence, or ambient noise. A memory of a simple kindness. Hold it in awareness. Notice if there is any subtle clinging, a wish for it to stay, a thought of mine. See if you can, just for now, let that wish be like a cloud, and let it drift through the sky of your mind. Don't push it. Just don't hold on to it. Let the appreciated thing be just what it is, in this moment of memory or sensation. Experience the difference. This is enjoyment without appropriation. Now, bring to mind a small, current worry or irritation. A task undone, a minor annoyance. Feel where it lives in the body. A tightness, a heat, a pressure. Instead of fighting it, simply make space for it. Breathe into the area around it. Imagine that sensation is a leaf floating on the lake of your awareness. You are the lake, vast and deep. The leaf is there. It's allowed to float. It will move, change, eventually drift away. Practice being the lake, not the leaf. This is letting go in real time. Finally, rest in the awareness itself. The awareness that heard these words, that saw the images in the stories, that feels the breath. This awareness is not a thing you can cling to. It is the space in which clinging and letting go both appear. It is your true nature, clear, open, peaceful, and wise. From this space, you can move through your world. You can love deeply, work passionately, enjoy richly. But now, you do it with an open hand. You are the swimmer in the river, the sky holding the weather, the lake reflecting the leaves, the kite flyer giving line. This is the gentle, profound freedom the Buddha pointed to. It is not afar off. It is here, in the relaxation of a single, held breath. In the softening around a single, held thought. You are not being asked to let go of your life. You are being invited to finally, fully live it. Thank you for spending this time in contemplation at Monk's Temple. May the peace and understanding that arises from letting go gently infuse your days. May you walk lightly, love openly, and meet each changing moment with a heart of wisdom. Be well. Until we meet again in this space of calm.